I was having a discussion today with a friend about what if we are all the one and all the same? What if we are actually one single thing or entity or energy, just having separate experiences? Like we are the eyes, the mouth, the nose, the ears of God, and we are experiencing ourselves in a way, which for me asks a really interesting question of, does that God mean that God is experiencing themselves and perhaps doesn't even know all of themselves? Is it like an unending story of surprise for both us and spirit or God or the universe as a whole? And it got me to thinking of a physics theory from many times ago that has always fascinated me, and it's the single electron theory. And it's a theory that was brought through by Wheeler and Feynman, and it was basically this thought experiment of what if every electron in the universe is actually the single same electron moving back and forth through time. And the idea is that electrons are perfectly identical. They're not similar, not nearly identical. They are exactly identical in every measurable way. Same mass, same charge, same spin, same behavior. And as we know from anyone who studies quantum physics, electrons disappear and then reappear. So what if they are just one single entity, one electron that's experiencing itself through different time and space shifts, which, as we know, time is simply a matter of gravity, and space is simply a marker that we place in order to differentiate one thing from another. So those are both very human constructs, actually, a way for us to be able to relate and be able to say, I am here and I am now at this time, and you are there and you were at that time, and so that we can kind of distinguish between selves and places and things. But what if we are all truly one? And if they are truly indistinguishable, what forces us to assume that there are many of them rather than one very busy one? Part of this thought experiment is that when the electron moves forward in time, we see an electron. And when it loops backward in time, we see a positron. Now this theory, this single electron theory, has been poo-pooed on by many physicists and scientists, and perhaps even its creators too. But it was just a really interesting thought experiment of how can we approach this and look at this in a different way? So it makes me think a couple things. Number one, that whole idea of we find answers couched in our assumptions. It's part of neo-tantra, where part of what we're taught is to look at our preferences and really decide if they are helping us or hurting us. Because our preferences, our assumptions, what we think of as reality or what our personal truth is where it's our playground for ideas and ways to work through challenges. If we work from a whole list of rules of these things are true and these are lines that cannot be crossed, then we don't even give our bodies, our minds, our souls the ability to approach things from a different way. So it makes me think of, number one, that, but it also makes me think of the interconnectedness, the idea that perhaps we are just seeing different aspects of ourselves. This year of resonance for me, after my year of presence last year, has been wonderfully hard in that I am meeting and finding parts of myself that I may not be necessarily fond of or super proud of, but they are part of me. Does not mean that they need to express themselves, but unseen, unquestioned, unlooked at, I could very easily and have very easily stepped into these parts of me that I really don't want to be expressed because I was unable or unwilling to look at them. and ask them, questions of like, where did you come from? What is it that you need? What are you trying to express? What hurt or whatever did can be looked at and perhaps healed, or at least just challenged in a way, or like I like to think that my greatest challenges are also my greatest opportunities. So perhaps this is just an opportunity to look at a possibility and know that I have choice and I have decision to move another way. The root word of decision is the idea that you burn a bridge. When you make a decision, you have made a choice that you cannot go back from. So it's like you've crossed a Rubicon. You have torn down a bridge of a river that you can never cross back into the exact same space. And so that's the wonderful and the terrible thing about decisions, is that once choices are made, you are different. Life is different and will never, ever be the same as it was before. It's just part of living, something that you have to work through and be used to, because we really, as human beings, as we become conscious, and perhaps even through the whole time, it's very hard to know that things will never be the same. We like things to be the same. We like things to be in stasis. We have the need both for continuity and the need for new. And so it's all, as Buddha would say, or many Buddhist traditions say, it's all in the balance of the two. It's in the balance of the new and the old at the same time. So what if we are all interconnected? What if we all share the same electron? Can you imagine all those people that you don't like, don't get along with, perhaps don't like you and don't get along with you? Can you imagine if you really are a part of one single entity, one single idea, one single God, one single universe? Even when you look at the name universe, one verse, one song, it sort of all just kind of points back. A part of why I love language is because if you really go back and you really investigate where these things came from, you understand where our languaging came from, and you understand what perhaps the true meaning of our languaging really is. And it can be far different than what we assume it is now in our day. Even when you are I'm going off on total tangents here, but even if you're having a discussion with someone, it's always important to understand that when you use a word, that word has a different meaning for every single human being that hears or uses that word. Even if I were to say the word house, everybody has a different picture of house in their head. If you say the word pink, everyone has a different shade of color that comes to their brain. If I say dog, everyone pictures a different animal. It's the same all across. And those changes or differences might be minuscule, but in some cases they could be larger. And also, when you use a complete sentence, a complete paragraph, or write an entire book, those incremental changes for every single word can make a huge difference in how what is trying to be conveyed is actually received. So I would just like to challenge you today of, what if the single electron theory is correct? What if there is just one? We do know that there's, as far as we know, only one habitable planet in our solar system, or even to our knowledge, the universe as a whole. Perhaps there are more, but as of right now, they have not been discovered. And so if there is just this one little tiny blue orb out in the middle of nowhere, and we're all on it, perhaps we should be looking at how we can inhabit this one little world. And of course, be conscious of things that are being done wrong, things that are inhumane, things that are absolutely terrible, but also understanding that we all just have to figure out a way to make it on this little blue orb out of the middle of nowhere. And perhaps starting with the idea that we are all one, we are all the same, can be what makes the difference. So keep that in mind. Love, peace, and release.
What if every face I pass is just a mirror turned a bit? Different shoes, same tired feet, same small flame we guard and grip. What if we are all the same? Same sky stuck behind our names, same herd hiding, same soft core, same skin, different stones. Same skin, different stones. You drink coffee, I drink tea. You like silence, I talk too much. Still we flinch at sudden loss. Still we lean for any touch. If I knew your secret fear, would mine feel less sharp, less weird? If you saw my worst mistake, would your heart still beat the same? What if every face I pass is just my shadow in a different jacket? Oh yeah, yeah. Different coffee, different laugh, same questions we don't wanna ask. What if every fight we pick just a mirror we refuse to look in? All that distance, all that twist, just the shape of what we miss. What if we are all the same? Different stories, same old ache, trying hard to hide the cracks, calling out then calling back. What if we are all the same? Just afraid to say our names, lonely in a crowded place, wanting someone, wanting grace. What if every fear I hold is living quietly inside your ribcage? Same chills when the night gets cold, same replay of the worst days. What if every quiet win feels like bragging, cause you know who's losing, but it's me there in your skin, clapping soft for you again. Clapping soft for you again. If I knew your secret shame, would I still throw stones like nothing? Would I still store nothing? If you saw the way I break, would you stay? Would you stay? Would you stay? Would you stay? If the line between us is just chalk on the pavement, could we blur it in the rain, walk across it anyway? If the line between us is just chalk on the pavement, could we blur it in the rain, walk across it anyway?